90% are the majority are caregivers. 8 are permanent residents. 497 Grano Agus students interns. We have 19 tourists and 137 Filipinos in Gaza. That this is what was mentioned by Yusek Edwega of the DFA. Now, the location of the Filipinos in the Northern District were about 6.4%. In Haifa, 12.22%. In Tel Aviv, where the majority of the Filipinos are, 42.08%. In the Central District, 20.36%. In the Jerusalem District, about 10%, 10.28%. And in the Southern District, where the area of conflict is happening, we have the same numbers with the OIC Hans, Kakda, about 5.3%. Now, the areas affected by the conflict, we'd like to emphasize, is confined to the southern part of Israel. Ashkelon, Ashdod, Sderot, Kibbutz Be'eri, Kibbutz where most of the rescued OFWs came from, Nahal Oz, Kisufim, Kibbutz Trim, Kibbutz Nir Oz, and Kivas Aza. Yesterday, we still have about 6 OFWs which we have not found, but the numbers have gone down to 3, to 4, sorry, to 4, as based on the records of OWA. And we have 2 casualties already, and we'd like to emphasize that immediately all assistance from all will be provided for. And in the Suraski Medical Center is the OFW that was hit by a bullet sa kanyang braso, recovering. And another OFW na nagsuffer ng suffocation, again, she's fine and recovering. A number of rescued OFWs as of October 10, 26. And requesting for repatriation, about 23. And we provided relief assistance to 35 OFWs already, food, hygiene kits, clothes, financial assistance. And what we can promise from the side of OWA, our people, our welfare officer in Israel is working nonstop, moving around with the labor attaché, visiting our OFWs. And tuloy lahat ay tumutugon ng mabilis para sa pangangailangan. Ang gusto naman po namin ma-emphasize, yung po kasing concentration ng conflict, as mentioned by Yusek Tebega, is in the south area. And it may provide us some confusion when we readily ask for repatriation. Kasi po doon sa bandang central and north, hindi pa ganun katindi ang apektado ng conflict. So you may find the numbers are low pagdating sa humihingi ng repatriation. And base sa history natin with Israel, most of the time, mataas ang tiwala kasi nila sa proteksyon na binibigay ng pamahalaan ng Israel. So kadalasan, nag-aantay lamang sila na matapos ang sigalot. But nevertheless, if there will be a need to repatriate, nagpapasalamat kami sa Kongreso, sa Senado, at sa lahat ng naging maluwag para sa aming Emergency Repatriation Fund. Ito po, the financial muscle of the ERF will be flexed thoroughly and absolutely to repatriate our OFWs if the need arises immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Admin Arnel Ignacio. How about we request now the DND if they have any report, if any. Thank you.
Sir, just to good afternoon, Mr. Chair, from the Department of National Defense. Just to add some details regarding further to the information already provided by DFA, DMW, and OWA. What the DND has been doing is to participate in interagency meetings to see what could be provided in case some assistance from the department is needed. So as mentioned before, usually in repatriation or evacuation cases, there are several options. There could be commercial flights available. There could be routes coordinated by our embassies, several mechanisms by OWA. So sending military assets and personnel are usually just one of the many options. So in case that we are asked, plans have been prepared in the event that we are called to provide assistance. But as indicated earlier, there is still no large scale requests for repatriation. But just in case those plans have been prepared. If there are any questions, sir, we have representatives from the Armed Forces of the Philippines to answer general questions about these plans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Abdullah. Do you have any additional, Colonel?
Sir, I'm Colonel Jesse Banastao, the Executive Officer of OJ3. And in behalf of Major General Fernando M. Rey, the Deputy Chief of Staff for Operation J3, I would like to convey that your armed forces is ready to assist the national government in the safe repatriation of the Filipinos. For your information, sir, we crafted the AFP contingency plan for the support of the national government in the evacuation of non-combatant evacuation operation in Israel, sir. And in this, to just give you some specific details regarding this plan, is that we will be creating a joint task force, which will be composed of an air task group and special task units with medical components, sir. And again, I would like to say that we're ready to assist the national government in the safe repatriation of Filipinos in Israel, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Colonel, for assurance from the AFP, no less, that you are ready to assist and support the Philippine government, of course. So, any other resource person who wish to make some presentation? If none, IOM, do you have anything to add? Please, Tristan Burnett.
Thank you. And first of all, please accept our condolences for the loss of the Filipino lives in the conflict so far. From the IOM side, we're coordinating from our headquarters and our regional office in Cairo. We also have a country office in Lebanon and Jordan who are actively monitoring potential outflows from the conflict so far, and are compiling requests from different governments for third country national return and reintegration if that so is needed. So that resource is there. Right now, we are monitoring the situation, engaged in contingency planning, and are available, of course, to provide our support to already the very strong DMW, DFA, and joint Philippine response on the assistance here. What we will say, though, is that at this point in time, there is approximately 187,000 displaced inside the country. So I think that's important just to take into account. And of course, there are water, electricity, and access shortages in Gaza. That's a very particularly localized area of the country, as you're aware, but I think it's an important consideration, particularly when we're looking at Filipinos that might be inside Gaza at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stan. With that, we're going to start some more clarifications or some questions. May I start? So basically, as sasabi po natin that there are 30,000 Filipinos in Israel. Pero sa official number ng OWA, ilan po, Admin Arnel?
For our active members in Israel, there are about 16,630, including our inactive members, which may not reflect their presence in Israel. There are about 34,497. for a total of 51,127. But again, these figures are indications of our members, which may not reflect if they are still in Israel.
Okay. So official record po ng OWA is 14,000
16,630.
630
active members.
for active members who are in Israel.
Yes.
Okay. Sa DMW, Secretary, ilan po yung record po ninyo na nasa Israel?
Opo, 27,000 OFWs as of December 2022. Report to Congress po ito. Report to Congress. 27, opo.
So 27,000.
Opo.
Pero sa report natin is 30,000. So what's the difference?
Ito po. December 2022 po kasi yung report to Congress, and yung deployment data natin for 2023 is an additional just a little almost 3,000. Additional deployment between caregivers and field workers is around 2,800. Kaya po renound off na natin to around 30,000.
30,000 OFWs. Pero we understand that there are also other categories of Filipinos in Israel, not just OFWs. So ilan po talaga yung total that we're discussing?
With respect to the total, I would defer to, in addition to the OFWs, I would defer to the DFA's chair with respect to the other kinds of overseas Filipinos.
Request Senior Special Assistant Robert Ferrer for clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you also, Representative Rosita and Luis Tro, and Deputy Speaker Aurelio Speaker, and thank you, Representative Salo, and thank you for the prayer also, COMSEC. We appreciate it. Yung additional data, sir, is as Yusek Ed already said, permanent migrants 8. So ito po yung married to Israeli nationals. So permanent residents po sila. So they're under DFA jurisdiction. Others, kasama yung sinabi.
Yes, ilan po yun?
OIC CAPDAC yung 20,499 plus in-add natin yung OFs deployed plus irregular or stroke undocumented migrants 6,800. So a total of 27,307 plus yung 2,800. So rounded na off to 30,000.
So more or less
So let me
30,000.
repeat, sir, 8 permanent migrants. Others, it includes OFWs, students, clergymen, religious groups. That's 20,499. And then irregular / undocumented migrants, 6,800.
6,100 yung undocumented.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. In this particular pinag-uusapan dito sa affected area, binabanggit niyo po kanina na are 5% of the total Filipinos in Israel, sila po yung nandoon. Would you validate that? 5%, ilan yon? 5% by 30, 1,500. Tama po ba yon? Secretary Hans?
Opo, sir. Yes po, sir. Opo.
So 1,500 po yung pinag-uusapan po natin na mga Filipinos in Israel who are affected dito the southern part. Kasi tama po yung ginagawa po ninyo that you're clarifying it. Kasi when we talk about repatriation later on, hindi natin pinag-uusapan yung 30,000 na kailangang i-repatriate. Kundi pinag-uusapan po natin yung not the entire population but only those that who are affected. And klaro po yung may datos po natin na 1,500 po yung affected po rito. But at the same time, because this is a G2G agreement, I suppose understand, Secretary Hans. Ang tanong ko po, first kapag pinapadala po natin yung mga OFWs natin, may data po tayo kung saan sila pupunta. So, are we clear, are we sure kung nasaan po talaga sila doon sa affected area po na yon? That particular number.
Yes, Mr. Chair, subject to kasi sa Israel, pwede yung transfer of employment.
Opo, pero in
Subject
that,
to rotational transfer of employment ng ilang bilang, we are notified naman po by our Israeli labor and immigration counterparts. But yes, sir, the short answer is yes. We started our G2G. Hindi naman po matagal na yung G2G deployment. It started in July 2021 for caregivers and June 2022 for hotel workers. So 3,702 na deploy sa caregivers since July 2021. And hotel workers, 1,836 since June 2022. However, nahinto po yung sa caregivers effective October 2022. So we have not been deploying newly hired caregivers since October 2022 kasi we are still renegotiating the terms of the renewed agreement with the Israelis.
Apo. So, DMW is able to extract that data that specifically would identify exactly yung 1,500 na yun, quote unquote, more or less.
Yes po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Yes.
And if it's a G2G ngayon, pero prior to this G2G arrangement, may agencies po tayo. Ilan po ngayon yung pinadala through G2G at ilan naman po yung through agency na naiwan
Opo.
pa?
Yun nga po, 3,702 caregivers since July 2021 and 1,836 hotel workers since June 2022.
Secretary, but the data that you're giving is the entire Israel? Opo. Do we have a capacity to extract data na specific lang dun sa affected areas po?
Yes po. So on balance, around, I'll try to get the exact figures, but ang estimated po natin is around 300 in the affected areas. Yes, 300. But I'll get the exact figures.
300 lang.
300 po
Akala
na
ko kanina 1,500, pero ngayon, ano yung 300 po?
affected area. G2G po tinatanong po, Mr. Chair. Opo.
Opo, sa G2G affected areas, we have 300. So the rest, mga 1,200, that includes yung mga other types of Filipinos as well as yung ipinadala po ng mga agencies
Yes
before.
po ay marami po sa kanila ay balik manggagawa na kasi may katagalan na rin na pinadala sila ng kanilang mga recruitment agencies. Opo.
Balik manggagawa, Secretary, does DMW still have that data? May data pa rin po ba sila?
Yes po. May data po. Except that, Mr. Chair, yung in terms of their exact location, we do have indicative data kung nasaan sila. Pero ang kaibahan ng G2G sa balik manggagawa ay hindi tayo sigurado kung yung kanilang current location kasi sila naman po ay can move freely on their own at hindi ito katulad ng may direct contact tayo with the Israeli Labor Immigration Authorities for G2G. Sa balik manggagawa, they can mas malaya sila in that sense na to move on their own na hindi natin natatrack as strictly as say the G2G workers. But they are still there.
So, Secretary, how do we gather information exactly? And of course, sa DFA also. Paano ba yung ginagawa po ninyo in order to validate this information? Kung nasan po sila, nasign po sila, paano po yung ginagawa po ng DMW?
As mentioned, we have a Google survey. So, yun nga po, out of the Google survey, the recent results of the Google survey is tinanong namin sila kung kamusta na sila. At yun nga po, 313 had marked themselves safe in the affected areas. Meron din ho tayong helpline, as I mentioned, yung 1348 helpline. And since the crisis broke out, as also mentioned, 96 ang humingi ng tulong. Doon sa ating 1348 hotline. I have to say thank you all the time. I say 1348 to our admin Arnel kasi shared po ng OWA yung hotline na yon, yung pinakita niya kanina.
Apo. Thank you very much. So ulitin po natin yung datos po na pinresent niyo po kanina together with the DFA. 2 deaths, 1 unconfirmed, 3 unaccounted for. There are 6. Ilan po yung injured?
Ang injured, as far as we could track, is so far dalawa ang report na naibigay sa amin. Yun nga ho yung dinalaw sa isang ospital sa Beersheba pero nasa Tel Aviv na natamaan ng bala sa braso. And yung isa smoke inhalation, wala na ho siya sa ospital, okay na po siya at nasa Tel Aviv na rin po siya.
This particular matter, so we're talking about 1,500 Filipinos in that affected area. Hindi pa kasama po yung sa Gaza, which are, I understand, 137 Filipinos. Ilan po bang mga personnel po ng Pilipinas, whether DFA or DMW or OWA, ang nandun po at tumutulong po sa kanila?
Yes, sa ngayon, on the part of DMW, as I mentioned, meron tayong labor attaché at welfare officer natin doing the rounds. Although ngayon, dahil nasa hearing sila, back to Tel Aviv, back to base. But our labor attaché, Rudy Gabasan, and welfare officer Dina Ponciano, and a staff person have been doing the rounds. And yun nga po, dumalaw sila doon sa rescue areas. And dinalaw rin yung nasa ospital at yung na-injured due to smoke inhalation.
Yes, Secretary. So ang tanong po natin, mga ilan po lahat yon? Ilang Pilipinos ang tumutulong po ngayon? Ilang personnel?
Personnel natin on the ground ay tatlo po. Tatlo sila on the ground doing the rounds. Meron kasing areas, Chair, na hindi mapuntahan yung nabanggit ko kanina kasi may operations pa ang IDF. Pero may areas na pwedeng puntahan sa southern part at yun pong pinupuntahan ng tatlong tauhan natin.
Yes, how about DFA? Tatlo rin kasama po?
Yung sa DFA po, they've been there a long time. The Ambassador Lilo is the head of the post. Head of post po siya, meron po siyang deputy consul general. And normally ang mga posts po natin 14 to 15 organic.
Specifically in Israel, ilan po?
Can I ask Ambassador Lilo po if he is online or his deputy to clarify, because normally mga 20 po plus translators, so that can be up to 24, 25.
Yes, may we recognize Ambassador Lilo?
Or his deputy.
Hi, good afternoon po. I'm Anthony Mandap, the Deputy Head of Mission and Consul General. May I request your honors to clarify the question first, because
Na-clarify ko po, Ambassador, ilan po yung personnel po ninyo na tumutulong?
ilan ang personnel na tumutulong?
Yes,
mga
sa dyan sa inyo, sa pagtulong po sa mga kababayan po natin.
Opo. Mga 30 po kami lahat dito sa embassy at everybody has been mobilized. Kabilang na po doon sa 30 yung ating OWA at saka DMW officials.
Maraming salamat po sa 30. So all these 30 personnel are the ones in charge in assisting our 1,500 affected Filipinos in this affected area in Israel as well as those in Gaza. O iba pa po yung mga personnel na tumutulong po sa Gaza?
Iba po yung personnel natin sa Gaza, yung po yung mga nanggagaling sa ating Philippine Embassy in Amman dahil sila po ang may consular jurisdiction doon sa area na yun.
Maraming salamat po. So ano po yung mga ginagawa po ng follow-up question po in order to validate the information that you're transmitting to the Philippines?
Yes, Your Honor.
The report that you're submitting sa Pilipinas, how do you validate the report? Kasi I'll be honest, kasi tinatanong ko po ito, kasi based sa report, ang dami ang mga naapektuhan. But of course, official report po natin, ito lang po, 2 deaths, 1 unconfirmed, 3 unaccounted. So of course, good news in a sense dahil kaunti lang po. But I'm just concerned, baka naman may nami-miss out po tayo because we just have very few people doing the validation.
Well, we are coordinating the operations in partnership with the Filipino community. So kahit po 30 lamang kami, we have a large network covering the entire Israel dahil meron po tayong mga community leaders dyan, especially in the matter of locating our Filipino nationals and determining the conditions in each locality. So relatively masasabi ko po na talagang kaunti lang yung apektado dahil yung po kaguluhan ay localized naman doon sa southern Israel, especially doon sa tinatawag na Gaza envelope. So relatively, I think the Filipino community, I probably can say that has been affected less compared to other nationalities. Yun medyo mataas po yung casualties nila.
Maraming salamat po for that clarification. So at least it gives us comfort na the Filipino community is the one assisting also the embassies in validating the information that are being reported. So another question, Secretary, to both the MAW or DFA, sino po talaga ang lead agency po ngayon when it comes to this particular issue, addressing concern po natin?
On the ground po, dahil may one country team approach tayo, we are led by our ambassador. But of course, our migrant workers office, kaya nga po yung tao natin ang nagpupunta, bumababa sa area, takes the lead in terms of yung pagkakalinga, pagbidistribute ng assistance, pagmamonitor ng mga OFWs. But we of course take also our instructions from the DFA and the ambassador on the ground. Dahil meron tayong one country team approach na itinalaga sa batas.
So klaro po yan. So ang head po ng or lead agency ngayon is the DFA led by the ambassador. So
yes po, sir.
ano yung delineation po ulit ng trabaho po ngayon ng DFA at ng DMW at ng OWA? Special Assistant Robert Ferrer.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Because of Republic Act 11641, of course, yung sinabi ni OIC Hans Katdak, the DFA is lead because of the head of post position who heads the country team. The country team po, all agencies involved in matters regarding the operations of the embassy and its relations with its countries under its jurisdiction is under the country team. Now, we, the DFA, we are the ones taking charge of coordinating with the governments of Israel, with the governments of Egypt, Jordan, which covers the Gaza Strip, in the arrangements with these partner countries when we're talking about repatriation or the welfare of our nationals in Israel. So kami po yung nakikinig with the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, many times with the disaster and risk management agencies. And pag may AFP attaché po, siya po yung directly nakikiliis sa counterpart niya po, whether it's from Israel, Jordan, Israel, Jordan, and Egypt. So yun po yung division of labor. And of course, we still partner with the MW sa ATN. Thank you, sir.
Okay, maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chair, may I add, Mr. Chair, yung Sec. De Vega, may I add, no? There's a situation kasi, ideally, in Israel, the DMW is more in charge about the welfare of our OFWs kasi that's under the act, no? Of course, one country team approach under the president. But the situation of Gaza is different. They don't have a representation there. So essentially, the DFA is in the lead about the repatriation from Gaza, but we're coordinating with everybody. So sa Gaza kasi, we need a lot of political diplomacy to be able to repatriate them. And I repeat, the number goes up. But right now, out of the 137, 70 are asking for repatriation. I'm not sure if Secretary Kakdak's numbers include those kasi may mga tumatawag sa kanilang repatriation center. Basta alam namin 70 ang sa Gaza and nobody has contacted the embassy, for at least ambassador from Israel. Pero for Gaza, 70. And of course, we can't give details as to how we're going to work on it. It's a sensitive issue, but we will work on it in accordance with the President's instructions.
Thank you very much, Sec. So next question po, who makes the decision now kung magkakaroon po ng mandatory repatriation o hindi in a certain areas? Or who recommends and who approves?
We look toward the DFA along those lines, Mr. Chair, in accordance with the law. Ang DFA, pag nagtalaga ng alert level system, meron na yung karampatang effect on deployment. So pag alert level 2, alert level 1, walang effect on deployment. Alert level 2, ban on new hire deployment. And alert level 3, total na whether balik manggagawa or new hire. And that so goes with alert level 4. So
Yes, yung alert level po, Secretary, is that's mandatory. But in this particular case, as we've discussed, localized po siya eh. So but the alert level 4 is mandatory, ibig sabihin kabuuan. Or does this mean to say na mandatory repatriation only in those certain areas?
Yes po, iklaro ko lang, Chair, no? Sa bawat alert level 4 na pinapataw, dalawa ang implications. Una sa deployment, yung paalis. Pangalawa sa repatriation, pabalik. Okay. So alert level 1, walang effect on repatriation or deployment. Alert level 2, may effect sa deployment. Walang effect sa repatriation. In a sense that sa alert level 2, bawal umalis na ang new hires. Pagpasok ng alert level 3, total ban na on paalis, pero voluntary na ang undertaking ng repatriation pabalik. And finally, alert level 4, mandatory na ang repatriation pabalik at total pa rin yung ban paalis. So once the DFA sets the alert level, and I understand may plano po along these lines, we will act accordingly. We will put in place, halos automatic na po yun, susundan na natin yon ng action with regard to both deployment and repatriation.
Yes, thank you very much, Secretary. Yung clarification ko po kasi yung binabanggit po ninyo, alert level 4, that's mandatory repatriation. Yes, but does this mean to say, when we say mandatory repatriation, it's the entirety, when we're talking about 1,500 affected personnel, not the 30,000?
Yes, yun po ay depende rin, Mr. Chair, sa alert level na itatalaga. Kasi lalaman namin, yun naman pong alert levels na tinatalaga ng DFA, hindi naman ho necessarily sa buong bansa. Lalamanin na rin ho ng alert level ng DFA kung ano yung tutukuyin niyang lugar, whether partial or kung buong bansa. So in this situation, inaasahan nga ho natin na titignan kung ano yung gravity of the situation sa bawat bahagi ng bansa, which is Israel in this case.
Yes, kaya ko po kina-clarify po ito, Secretary, dahil when we say alert level 4 and total deployment ban, it's the totality for the whole country. Pero it's still alert level 4 which pertains to repatriation. So you're following still one alert level, di ba? Which is kung alert level 4 yon, mandatory for walang deployment, complete, di ba? For the whole country, di ba? Pero kapag binabanggit po natin, how about the repatriation aspect? Would the repatriation aspect only affect a certain area, or it means to say we're also affecting the entirety of the nation?
We will be guided, Mr. Chair, by the alert level to be given by the DFA. If the alert level says it's alert level 4, given the situation in area A, B, C, then the mandatory repatriation will refer to or tutugma po siya sa ABC. Kung sabihin buong bansa ang alert level gravity of the situation, then it follows.
Na siguro tatanungin po natin si Yusek de Vega. Yusek, so ano magiging implication po noon kung sakaling nag-declare kayo, kasi wala pa naman ngayon, nag-declare kayo ng alert level 4. Alert level 4 is mandatory complete deployment ban for the whole country. What's the effect with respect dun sa repatriation? Yusek de Vega? About Special Assistant Robert Ferrer.
Yes, sir. Tama po yung sinabi ni OIC, the DFA makes the recommendation, makes the determination for the alert level based on the recommendation of our ambassador, the man on the ground. So yun po yung how it's done.
Thank you.
But I also like to add yung for purposes of mandatory evacuation, it's about Gaza only right now, the Filipinos in Gaza.
Okay. So sa Gaza po yung pinag-uusapan po ngayon. Okay. About DND, before I recognize Congressman Jervil, ano po yung, based on your information, ano yung mga countries with the most number of citizens in Israel? What foreign in Israel? And what actions are being undertaken by other countries concerning their nationals?
Sir, if you will allow it, I think present in this meeting is the Defense Attaché of the Philippines in Israel, Colonel Ewald Manay. Probably he can answer your questions, sir.
Nandyan,
Yes, sir.
via Zoom. May we recognize the Defense Attaché in Israel, Colonel
Paulitin na lang.
Manay. Colonel?
Magandang hapon, sir.
Yes, magandang hapon po sa inyo. Tanong ko po, anong foreign countries ang the most number of citizens in Israel? Then second, what foreign countries have the most number of casualties or injured or missing?
Sir, for the question po, sir, mahirap po ma-determine kasi may mga dual citizens. So they have Israel passport. At the same time, they have
Ukrainian,
foreign passport. Even sometimes 3 passports yung ano nila. Kumukuha po sila ng 3 passports.
Okay. So, pero would you have any idea kung anong country yung foreign countries or foreign nationals which are the most number of casualties or injured in Israel?
Maraming salamat po. Your Honor, sa aming pagkakaalam sa ngayon, ang pinakamaraming casualties, I can only compare with our yung based on the figures that we have, but yung sa especially yung Southeast Asian countries po, no? So far, Thailand accounts for the most deaths, 18 po yung kanila. The nandito rin po yung US, 14 deaths. And then Nepal has 10 deaths. Argentina has 7, France has 8. So relatively, relative to the size of our population, medyo mababa pa naman po, gladly, yung ating casualty rate.
Maraming salamat po. Last question, what are the actions being undertaken by other countries concerning their nationals?
Well, magkakaiba po yung sa aming network with the other diplomats. Magkakaiba po naman yung gusto. Many of them are still inquiring about repatriation. Yung Israeli government has expressed its readiness to assist kung kakailanganin repatriation. But sa ngayon, sa amin pong pag-aaral sa sitwasyon ay hindi pa kinakailangan ng mandatory repatriation ng ating community.
Maraming salamat po, Ambassador.
Dagdag ko lang po, even the Israeli government does not recommend repatriating foreign nationals right now.
Last clarification, so far po ba may foreign national na po ba na nagpo-forced evacuation or repatriation sa Israel?
May usap-usapan po about that possibility, pero sa pagkakaalam po namin wala pong mandatory or forced repatriation or evacuation.
Thank you very much. About yung representative natin or ambassador natin in charge of Gaza? Sino? Gaza. In charge of Gaza is Cairo or Israel? No.
Your Honor?
Jordan?
Yes,
There's a Jordan po ba in charge?
yes, yes, Your Honor. Philippine Embassy po in Jordan has jurisdiction over Palestine, which includes West Bank and Gaza.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, Ambassador. Clarification po, Ambassador Santos. Meron na po foreign nationals sa Gaza na nagpo-force evacuation or repatriation?
Well, the reports that we have been receiving, Your Honor, is that wala hong evacuation so far because the exit points are closed due to continuing clashes between Israel and Hamas. In fact, we received a report that Palestinian Americans are having a difficult time getting out of Gaza because the one exit point through Egypt has been attacked, under attack for the past several days. One ASEAN embassy in Jordan has approached us and requested if we can also help them in our repatriation. So for now, until we have a humanitarian corridor that will allow the safe passage of our third country nationals, including Filipinos, it may not be feasible to undertake an exit or evacuation of our nationals, because we have to consider, Your Honor, the safety and of our nationals who will be undergoing this procedure. But we continue, our embassy in Amman continues to coordinate not only with international organizations with limited presence in Gaza for assistance to our nationals. Our embassy in Amman is also coordinating closely with our Philippine embassies in Tel Aviv and in Cairo, so which are both also making representations with their host governments in assisting our nationals for their repatriation. In case the repatriation will go through Israel or through Egypt. Thank you, Your Honor.
Maraming salamat po. Clarification po, Ambassador. Ano po yung binabanggit po ninyo, nagkakaroon po ng representation that they will be assisting us when they're going to repatriate your nationals, isasama po ba nila yung sa atin o sila po yung nakikiusap na isama po natin yung nationals nila?
Well, the Indonesian embassy has approached us, Your Honor, if we can help them, because they have no personnel also and diplomatic personnel in Gaza. We don't have physical presence there, but we are in contact with our community, because we have undertaken consular missions to Gaza in the past. Most recently last year, we were supposed to undertake a consular outreach mission next month, but of course this conflict has derailed this plan. We have received information that 10 Indonesian nationals are in Gaza, and I think their government has requested our government to assist them for their repatriation.
May salamat po, Ambassador. For my final question sa DFA, bago po tawagin po si Congressman Juan Jervil Luistro, dito po sa nagpahayag po na gusto po nilang magpa-repatriate, there are around 70, tama po ba yung the latest na gusto magpa-repatriate?
Yes, correct po yan.
70 yung gustong magpa-repatriate. Tama po ba?
Tama po yan. Yes, that includes also, of the 70, that includes also 31 minors with ages ranging from 4 days to 15 years old, Your Honor.
So mga minors po, mga anak po nila. I'm just wondering, kapag pinag-usapan po natin yung mandatory repatriation, kasi natanong po ako dito, raw po bang sumama yung kanilang mga spouses? So for example, because most of these are already married to Palestinians, then ang if-force repatriate po natin are the Filipinos. Tama po ba? Ang tanong po nila, how about daw yung mga spouse po nila na gusto na rin po na magpa-repatriate, sumama doon sa kanilang Filipino spouse and Filipino children? Do we allow that?
So I defer to Ambassador Santos for his recommendation and Ambassador Ezedin Tago in Cairo. In general, sir, by law, our priority is our own citizens. So based on my own experience as Consul General, it will delay the extraction if the spouses are, going to be included, because not all partner governments have the same policy when it comes to allowing spouses to pass through their borders. Yun lang po, sir. But Santos may wish to.
Thank you very much for that. May we recognize, Ambassador, if you have any additional inputs to that particular question?
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, we have included in the list of the 15 families, 70 Filipino nationals with 20 Palestinian spouses. We cannot, of course, assure that the non-Filipino who will to be repatriated will be allowed to exit Gaza. That will depend also on the governing authority in Gaza, which is Hamas right now, and also on the two countries that will allow their entry. It will depend on these countries where they will be allowed entry. So for humanitarian reasons, we included them in the list. But of course, priority is for our Filipino nationals. And for humanitarian reasons, we included them because we cannot, of course, separate the families. But of course, their exit from Gaza will depend on the governing authorities in Gaza, and their entry to the exit countries will depend on these host countries.
Maraming salamat po, Ambassador, for that clarification. So, ibig sabihin po, Philippine policy, inalaw po natin, except that it will depend by visit country kung papayagan po sila. So that is malinaw. May we recognize Senior Deputy Speaker, Gonzales.
Thank you, Chairman Zalo. Thank you for this opportunity, and we discuss the conflict in Israel. And we have the speaker, I'm here to listen. At pinatawag ko sa taas ngayon para mag-meeting lang eh. I hope and pray that this 1,500 Filipinos in southern part and the Gaza envelope, masana po safe sila. Thank you for the collective effort of our national agencies. At tulong-tulong po tayo sa mga lahat po ng tao, lalo na po yung mga kababayang Pilipino ay nasa mabuting kalagayan. So ano naman, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, we act accordingly. Secretary Kaklak, we will follow that. At sana po, hindi na namin ito sa level 4, di ba? So to all of you, maraming salamat po, Mr. Chairman and my dear colleagues.
Thank you very much, Senior Deputy Speaker Aurelio Bong Gonzales, for joining our committee hearing this afternoon. At this point, may we recognize Congresswoman Jervil Luistro for some of his clarifications.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I wish to commend the initiative of our chairman in calling this committee hearing in order to hear updates from our concerned national agencies on the situation of our migrant workers in Israel, particularly in the southern part of Israel, in Gaza. Kanina po, we were listening to Co-Administrator Arnel Ignacio, and he shared with us, Mr. Chair, the distribution of the 30,000 OFWs or migrant workers in the entire Israel. Nabanggit po kung ilang percent ang nasa Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Central, and Haifa. And to be specific, for those situated in southern Israel, which is the affected area, we have 5,000 migrant workers. Considering this information shared to us by Admin Arnel Ignacio, concerned po ako doon sa distance. Gaano po ba kalayo from the affected area itong Tel Aviv in terms of kilometers?
We will determine the kilometers right now, Madam Congresswoman, pero 3 oras daw po na biyahe from the southern part to Tel Aviv. Of course, paiba-ibang depending, konting variation lang depende sa kung gaano ka-south, kung babang-baba talaga. Pero on average, mga 3 oras daw po ang biyahe.
Mr. Chair, I wish to be enlightened on the distance, perhaps by the number of hours, if it will be traveled by land, no? Let us describe and give a scenario kung sakali bang mag-worsen, mag-escalate ang situation dito sa southern Israel. Gaano po ba kalayo by land travel perhaps itong Tel Aviv, itong Jerusalem, itong Central, at itong Haifa? Because the impression that I got earlier, naririto po sa 4 na areas na ito ang concentration ng ating mga kababayan in Israel. And I wish to be preventive, gusto ko pong maging advance in the possible preparation that we can come up with if in case there will be escalation in the situation in the southern border of Israel, no? At I hope before we end the committee meeting, we will be able to get this information from OFA or from BMW, no? Can we hear again from OFA Administrator Arnel? Ilang percent po ulit ang nasa Tel Aviv?
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Admin Ardel, you're recognized.
In Tel Aviv, Congresswoman, 43.08%.
And for Jerusalem,
10.28%.
for Central,
20.36%. In
Haifa,
in Haifa, 12.22%. In the Northern District, 6.4%, and in the Southern District, 5.03%.
yeah.
It will provide some comfort to your Honor, that our welfare officers and the labor attachés who are in Tel Aviv, nag-ooperate pa ho normally yung mga bangko, day-to-day operations. So, if we have a map, we can have more graphic presentation of how far it is from the area of conflict.
Mr. Chair, we appreciate the fact that our national agencies are very much aware of the situation in the southern border and even in the adjacent areas to the affected area. Nonetheless, considering that this is a foreign land, the situation the Philippine government definitely and certainly cannot control, there's always a possibility of escalating the situation. So my only concern is I hope we can come up with our contingency plan already if in case the war or the armed conflict would extend outside the southern Israel. That is my concern, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very
So
much. Congresswoman, actually, that's my final question. What exactly is the plan now? Do we have a strategy? So, as things are unfolding or evolving, ano po yung nakikita po natin na plano ng ating mga agencies of the government? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair, we do not want to exaggerate the situation because it will not help our kababayan in Israel and even their families here in the Philippines, no? Ang gusto lang po natin ay meron tayong preparation na ginagawa if in case magkaroon ng escalation. And to continue, Mr. Chair, gusto ko rin po sanang tanungin because I'm very much enlightened about the declaration of alert level. Ano po ba ang parameters natin in declaring level 3 vis-a-vis level 4? Because the basic distinction of these two alert levels is when it comes to repatriation, level 3 is still voluntary, whereas in level 4, it becomes forced repatriation. So can we hear from DFA, Mr. Chair?
Thank you very much. May we recognize the FA.
Thank you, sir. I also have my colleague from Office of Middle East and African Affairs, if he wants to add. Ma'am, thank you very much for the question. Since Republic Act 8042, and even before that, all embassies po natin may contingency plans po, bawat isa yan. We submitted to the DFA headquarters, and since DMW was created, those contingency plans should have been or must have been already wrote in with DMW's plans. So lahat po ma'am ng scenarios ay nakalagay po sa mga contingency plans na to, at saka yung input po ng mga defense and armed forces attachés natin, they are consulted. So each ambassador po may kanya-kanyang contingency plans po yan. They are active, they're being updated every 6 months. But in this case, dapat po yata every 3 months or even less. So the ambassadors in Cairo, in Amman, in Tel Aviv, they all have their own contingency plans that are coordinating with each other. And matagal na po yun, ma'am. So ina-update na lang po yun. So I hope our ambassadors who are online now can respond also to your questions, especially because they need to be in tangent with DMW and with our DAFAS. Yun lang, sir, ma'am.
Thank you very much. May we recognize our ambassadors? in those respective areas for clarification of the contingency plan. Senior Special Assistant Robert Ferrer, sino po yung gusto po ninyong sumagot?
Ambassador Santos, I believe Amanti has a.
Ambassador Santos, you're
Also
recognized.
Tel Aviv PE and also Cairo PE.
Your Honor, for the information of this committee, Gaza has been under alert level 2 for some time now because of persistent violence inside the territory. We recommended alert level 3, subject to the approval of the President, because of Filipinos have already requested for repatriation. Alert level 3 is voluntary repatriation. We are not yet at alert level 4 for mandatory repatriation. But that is the situation now. Of course, there has been an attack in Gaza. There are clashes between Hamas and Israel inside Gaza, at least at the air, no? By air. So we recommended alert level 3, but right now it's only alert level 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, may we also hear from DFA about the question on the parameters you consider in declaring level 3 vis-a-vis level 4?
Ambassador?
From DFA headquarters perspective po, ang alert level 4 is when the lives of our overseas Filipinos are in immediate danger. So halimbawa po, from my own personal experience when I was Consul General in Moscow, yung mga Filipinos po natin sa Ukraine, once the Russian invasion started, naging mandatory po because of the war. So, but I'm not an expert on Jordan and Egypt right now. So based on the recommendations of our ambassadors there, yung 3 to 4, yun po ma'am.
Can we hear from our Philippine embassies, Mr. Chair?
Yes, may we recognize our ambassador once again? Ambassador.
From the Philippine Embassy in Jordan, Your Honor, we recommended alert level 3 because there is already a request for repatriation by our nationals. And the situation in Gaza has worsened because of the air attacks inside Gaza by Israel. Before, there were just isolated cases of violence. But now there has been clashes. There is an actual conflict. So we recommended alert level 3 for the voluntary repatriation of our nationals. But of course, if there is the situation deteriorates, we are heading towards alert level 4. Thank you.
Kanina po, Mr. Chair, our resource speaker from the DFA said that if the lives of the Filipinos are already in danger, that will be a call already to declare a level 4, which is a forced repatriation. Question ko po, Mr. Chair, when there is air bombing, indiscriminate air bombing, I'm talking only about the affected areas. How do we appreciate the level of safety of the Filipinos there? Mr. Chair?
DFA. Ambassador.
Can I speak on behalf of the Department of Foreign Affairs? The attacks are
Ambassador, please continue.
okay. Your Honor, I think the attacks are targeting Hamas, and the air attacks by Israel are targeting mostly Hamas militants. And we have so far we have not received any casualties from our Filipino community members in Gaza. They are residing far from the border area with Israel. They are in central Gaza. So we cannot recommend alert level 4 because there's not total breakdown of peace and order. Of course, Hamas is ruled by Gaza is ruled by Hamas. So for now, we will recommend only alert level 3 that calls for voluntary repatriation. Thank you.
Of course, Mr. Chair, we submit to the wisdom and expertise of the people in the Philippine embassies. However, Mr. Chair, this is not the impression that is being given to us by international news. I was watching the news last night, and it appears that the air bombing is indiscriminate. Reason why civilian Palestinians, which are not Hamas member, are being injured and dying out of this armed conflict. So can we hear some assurance from the Philippine embassies about your accurate and honest assessment of what is going on? Is it really directed only against Hamas members? Or is it an indiscriminate air bombing? Because if it is indiscriminate, Mr. Chair, I am certain, but I wish to believe that there's a need already for level 4. Because indiscriminate air bombing will mean they are willing to kill anyone, Palestinians or otherwise, Filipinos or otherwise, children or elderlies. So again, we are submitting to the wisdom and the expertise of the people in the Philippine embassies. Kung ano pong sabihin nyo, although the impression we're getting from the international news is different. How do you see the war that is going on in the southern Israel? Ito po ba directed only against Hamas? Or is it indiscriminate air bombing?
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Jervil Luistro. Definitely, this is the importance or value of this particular hearing because we're getting clarification. So may we recognize Ambassador?
I cannot answer for Israel. I think that should be addressed by our embassy in Tel Aviv regarding the actions of the IDF in Gaza. What I know and the information I have been receiving, Your Honor, is that all Filipinos in Gaza are safe. Then they continue to heed our calls to take precautions, to be vigilant, to stay indoors, but they should continue to monitor the situation based on official communication channels. We are in touch with them every day. We have assigned personnel to monitor the conditions of each of the families of our Filipino nationals in Gaza. And thankfully, the information received is that they are safe. Although, of course, they're worried because they hear sirens, they hear bombings, but I'm not sure if the bombs are falling near their neighborhoods. What I do know, and the assurance I get from them, is that they are safe, and we have not received any information on any casualties.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
So, Chair, moving to my next question. In summary po ba, for the benefit of the Filipino people who are watching us right now, in summary, I wish to direct this question to the OFW and POA. Ano po ba ang assistance na ibinibigay natin sa Filipinos in the affected area in Israel?
Yes, mauna po ako bago kay Admin.
Yes, Secretary Hans.
Una po, a helpline. Yung maramdaman po nila na meron silang matatakbuhan, whether yung kanilang pamilya dito o yung mismong OFW. Kaya nga po nagbukas tayo nung, again, 1348 with OWA and WhatsApp and Viber lines. Pangalawa, yung pinaprocess nating impormasyon sa helplines is immediately cascaded to the ground. Kinokontak yung OFW, at kung yung OFW ay may nasa panganib, kinokontak ang IDF na nandun sa mga areas na masiselan, na sila naman na nagsasagawa ng direct rescue o pagtulong. Ngayon po, doon sa pwedeng puntahan na lugar, bumababa ang ating labor attaché at welfare officer at nagbibigay ng tulong at assistance. Nagkaroon na po tayo ng first round of assistance. Sa pagdalaw at nagbigay ang OWA. Sa susunod na round of assistance, pasok naman ang DMW funding, so on and so forth. Tuloy-tuloy lang po yan. Kami na po ang bahalang mag-allocate ng resources. Doon naman po sa repatriation, evacuation and repatriation, kasi two-step po yun. Yung evacuation, paglikas mula sa south and going to evacuation convergence points, and then proceed to the departure point. Hindi lang po ako maghahayag ng detalye kasi syempre for the safety of our eventual repatriates, nakaanda na po tayo. Meron po tayong nakalap na listahan ng 23 na inahanay na po natin for repatriation subject to approval of the proper Israeli authorities, kasi halimbawa nga po alam natin ang Ben Gurion International limited ang operation ngayon. Kailangan may pagpapaalam lang at pagpapaalam sa ating mga Israeli authorities doon. And then sa pag-uwi po, tayo rin, kahapon nagpulong po kami sa Office of the President at malinaw inahanay na po natin for repatriation. Tulungan natin mula sa Sudan, natutulungan natin sila pag-uwi para makamove on, employment o livelihood o tulong pinansyal sa kanilang mga anak na nagpapatuloy ng pag-aaral. Tutulungan po natin sila. Meron din pong aspeto ng psychosocial, but I will leave that to Admin Arnel.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Clarification lang, may nagre-request na po ba ng repatriation sa Israel?
Meron po.
Ilan po yun?
Sa ngayon, 23 po. 14 caregivers, isang hotel worker, and the balance would be mga permanent residents and non-OFW.
So 70 sa Gaza, 23 sa Israel ngayon.
23 po.
And what's our policy? The moment mo nang nag-request po sila ng repatriation, immediate po ba lahat po sila ina-assist? What's the policy?
Yes, ina-assist po sila, Chair, depending on the factor that I mentioned. Yung pagpapaalam natin sa Israeli authorities, kasi monitor din naman ang galaw natin by the Israeli authorities, understandably so. No? At pangalawa, depende rin sa location ng tao. Kasi ngayon, nabanggit ko po kanina, Chair, kung siya po ay nasa area na ang payo ng Israeli authorities, stay put. Pag may sirena, go to a bomb shelter. Pag nandyan po siya sa sitwasyon na ganyan sa South, ay i-assess natin yung situation, case to case po yan, Mr. Chair. Hindi natin i-insist na, sige, kahit gusto mo nang umuwi, halika na. Kasi baka magkaroon din ng, kumbaga, agam-agam or disturbance dun sa IDF operations at maging sagabal pa sa IDF operations kung biglang may Pilipinong lumabas sa kalye. So, babalansin lang ho natin ang sitwasyon at kung pwede pong iuwi na, ang direktiba din po ng ating mahal na Pangulo ay iuwi na rin po.
Mr. Chair, linawin ko lang po itong hotline number. Can this be contacted from the Philippines or even when you are in Gaza and Israel?
Sige po. Ang sagot ko po doon, si Admin Arnel can cover for the 1348 hotline. Ang sa akin po, Madam Congresswoman, yes po, pwede kasi
Anywhere.
Supplemented po by WhatsApp and Viber numbers. At yun naman po ay anywhere in the world ang WhatsApp and Viber, aside from the 4-digit 1348 hotline.
Sir Chair, may I confirm that if we will be using WhatsApp and Viber, it will be the same hotline number?
Hindi po, Madam Chair, kasi yung 1348 wala po sa WhatsApp and Viber. So doon po sa aming website announcement, meron pong numbers specifically catering to Viber and WhatsApp.
Share it to the public, Mr. Chair.
Opo.
So everybody will be aware of the communication means.
Opo. Ito po sila, medyo mas mahaba po yung Viber and WhatsApp line. 908-3268-344. 908-3268-344 plus 63 lang po yun. Pagka hihingi naman ng WhatsApp Viber yun kapag pinunch in mo yung 908-3268-344 add +63.
So, Mr. Chair, ito pong number na to is the same for WhatsApp and Viber. Can we confirm that?
Yes po. Actually, may dalawa pang ibang number, but yes, the short answer is yes.
You can use this number from anywhere in the world.
Yes po, Madam.
And the hotline number +621348, you can use this from anywhere in the world also.
Din po, nagbigay lang tayo ng Viber and WhatsApp option in case ang mainline means of communication ng OFW ay WhatsApp at Viber.
I hope we can flash this in the website of the House of Representatives to help our national agencies disseminate these numbers to the families who might be in need to communicate with the offices of our national government. Mr. Chair, kanina po kinikwento ninyo sa Katdak yung kanilang mga assistance na binibigay to Filipinos in Israel and in Gaza. Kanina po, they shared also that there are 1,500 Filipinos in the affected area. Ang tanong ko po, can we confirm that our OWA officers, welfare officers, and labor officers, do they have an active communication already with all these 1,500 Filipinos in Gaza and Israel?
Ang sistema po natin, Madam Congresswoman, is we communicate through the Filipino community leaders. And nakalimutan ko lang iulat na nung linggo, kami ni Admin Arnel at ni Ambassador Juni Lailo ay nakipag-town hall na rin po. USEC TY is here also. Facilitated a town hall meeting with the Filipino community leaders. Online. Opo. Live po yun. And nadinig namin lahat ng kanilang agam-agam. And we are due for another. Tomorrow we will have another town hall meeting with the Filipino community.
I hope we can achieve this objective, no, na the Filipino community leaders can give us a specific account of this 1,500 Filipinos in affected areas, including in Israel, no? Kasi sila lang po ang tulay natin eh. I think that is one of the reasons why we are relying on Filipino communities, because it's quite hard to contact each and every Filipino out of this 1,500 people based in the southern Israel, no? So patulong po tayo sa Filipino communities to have a specific account of this 1,500 people in the affected areas. On my third concern, Mr. Chair, dalawa po ang confirmed na namatay. Ano pong status ng cadaver ng mga ito? Are they still there? And what are our plans in bringing them home here in the Philippines so they can be joined by their families?
Admin Ignacio, kayo po ang sasagot. Secretary Hans Kakna.
Madam Congresswoman, we would like to defer to the DFA on the matter of the two fatalities. Kasi po naka-center sa one country team approach. So I would like to defer to the DFA on that matter.
Before you answer me, we recognize the presence of our Secretary General of the House of Representatives, Reggie Velasco.
Thank you.
Yes.
Maraming salamat po and greetings to Secretary General Velasco. Thank you, ma'am, for the question. Yung normal practice po is the embassy that covers that area where Filipino nationals have been killed. They are the ones primarily responsible in coordinating with OWA and BMW in shipping the remains of these of our next in and for privacy reasons. But basically, it is the ambassador in Amman, Jordan, who is the lead in making sure, in coordination with OIC Hans and OWA administrator, in shipping the remains as soon as possible.
Mr. Chair,
with regard to the local regulations.
can you hear from our Philippine embassies on this, Mr. Chair? The remains of those two fatalities.
Admin Ignacio, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To bring comfort to the representatives, we already have the names of our fatalities and we have contacted all the families. And not only this, the communication that we're doing with the Filipino communities of details about Filipinos in Israel. In fact, Your Honor, yung isa pong case na yung asawa niya ay hindi niya makita at alalang-alala siya, ang active participation na kaagad natin para ma-address natin yung kanyang pakiramdam. Dinala po natin ngayon. As we speak, the wife of one of the missing OFWs ay nasa OFW kasama ang kanyang anak. Pinrovide na po namin ng DMW ng pangangailangan niya dahil nagkwento na siya ng ilan sa kanyang mga problema. Immediately, bibigyan na po natin siya ng tulong. Nakapaos po siya sa hotel ngayon. In all OFWs will be coming home. As for the participation of after the Department of Foreign Affairs has processed the shipping of the remains, ang OWA po naman ang may obligasyon na ito po ay salubingin, i-provide ang funeral service at nagbigay katulad po ito as we check. Hindi ko naman yung pangalan pero nakita po namin na active member ito. So the full range of our benefits will be provided. First starting the 220,000 at na financial and burial assistance. Ito po hindi naman pera, pati yung partisipasyon, pagkahanda at kasama po nito from day one ang ating pong pati po yung psychosocial intervention through our partners. So it's a total package of taking care of our OFWs. And hindi lang po yan, pag natapos po ito, diretso pa rin po diretso pa rin po ang pagkipag-ugnayan nila sa OWA. Katunayan, katulad po ng nakaraan nating kaso kay Ranara, hanggang ngayon po, nararamdaman pa rin nila yung presensya natin. Recently lang, binisita namin ni Sec Kapdak, ang pamilya po nila. So, ganyan po yung range ng ating pagsisilbi sa kanila. If that should bring comfort to our honorable representative.
Sir, this representation is always comfortable in the MW. These are action people, no? Do you have ideas to when the bodies will be arriving in the Philippines?
Yun po ay nakadepende. Rest assured, Madam Congresswoman, isinasaayos na po ito. Merong obviously may proseso, iba ang extraordinary ang sitwasyon ngayon. So but at the soonest possible time, that's what we have told the families. At hindi naman po natin nakikita na may malaking hadlang sa pagpapauwi. Hindi lang ho namin, pasensya na po at this stage, hindi namin na banggit lang po ang takdang araw. Pero uuwi po sila sa lalong madaling panahon.
Thank you, DMW. Thank you, Secretary. Last question, Mr. Chair. I also saw in international news last night that there are demonstrations also between Israelis versus Palestinians. I saw this in Arab countries and in London. So I wish to ask the DFA, ilan po ba ang Israelis and Palestinians na naririto sa ating bansa? And what are the chances na magkakaroon din po ng similar demonstration dito sa atin? Mr. Chair?
DFA, Deputy Assistant Secretary Marlo Miranda. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Madam. The information that would be needed for that question, ma'am, would be best addressed to the Bureau of Immigration. Right now, we do not actively collect information about how many nationals of a certain country are present in our land. And when the need arises, like in this particular instance, if needed by the committee, will send a letter to the Bureau of Immigration to determine how many of the nationals of Palestine and in the
What's your pleasure?
So may I just request the DFA that they make the necessary coordination with the Bureau of Immigration so that we can make the necessary preparation. If ever similar demonstrations will be happening in our country. And to close my interpellation, Mr.
In
Chair.
a sense, Congresswoman, we are not requesting for a specific report from them, but you're just requesting them to be prepared. Okay.
Perhaps the DFA should coordinate with DI, and if you have information already, please do submit them to us also. Mr. Chair, to close my questions, I just wish to go back to the parameters in declaring level 3 vis-a-vis level 4. Again, ang sabi po ng ating DFA, in level 3, voluntary ang repatriation. Meaning, the migrant workers can still refuse to be repatriated to our country. But in level 4, repatriation is forced. Whether they like it or not, they have to come home. No? I wish to quote the DFA in their earlier statement that level 4 is being declared when the safety of the Filipinos there is already in immediate danger. We always say, pictures do not lie. Videos do not lie. Ang gusto ko pong iwanang tanong sa inyo, what do you see in international news? Because personally, I appreciate the attack as indiscriminate, which means it can hit anyone, including our kababayan, Filipino citizens in Israel and in Gaza. So I hope we will be paying more attention to this. Ibalik ko po yung tanong. When there is indiscriminate air bombing, ano ho bang appreciation natin sa level of safety ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino doon? For me, I think it calls for a forced repatriation. I am talking only about the affected area in Gaza. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. That's noted, unless the DFA wants to say your piece.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're under the President's instructions, and because he is closely involved in this, we get instructions from the department, from Office of the President. Just to be clear din po, based on our own DFA manual, which is shared with other agencies, alert level 3, voluntary repatriation, means the violence or political, social, or security unrest escalates, or the external threat becomes imminent, or the disaster, environmental disturbance, or health hazard becomes widespread with no or little signs of abating, thereby posing serious risks to the safety and security of Filipinos. That is voluntary repatriation, Mr. Chair, Madam. Now, alert level 4, ito po definition disturbance or health hazard becomes widespread with no or little signs of abating, thereby posing scale environmental or health hazard with life-threatening risks. That's according to our own manual, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat po, Senior Special Assistant Robert Ferrer. Just a clarification, that particular discussion, kung sinasabi po ninyo na forced repatriation ng lahat ng Filipino nationals, or it only includes migrant workers, or does this include yung mga married to certain nationals?
All Filipino citizens po in the affected area pag alert level 4, which is mandatory repatriation.
So regardless, kung married po sila doon, ano yung status po nila, it's mandatory.
Basta Filipino citizens, sir.
Okay, salamat po. Now, we will recognize Congressman Salvador Prieto, who is present via Zoom. Congressman Prieto, are you still there? Kanina po nag-aantay at nagre-request na magtanong. Mukhang napagod. With that, may we recognize Congressman Bonifacio Busita for his questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, naka-recess po tayo, kaya lang masipag si Honorable Representative Gonzalo. So when I received notice, mag-decide agad ako, mattend dito, and schedule is 1:30. Nandito na po ako ng 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At while nagpe-present yung ating mga partners from other government agencies, nag-notes ako, Chairman, ng ika-clarify until such time na parang maubos na yata. Ang gagaling ng mga naunang congressman. Okay. Mr. Chair, ibang clarifications lamang po ako.
Please continue.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. For Secretary Hans Kakdak, yung po bang casualties, 2 deaths and 1 injured, ito po ba ay sa Gaza City o sa affected areas?
Within Israel.
Sa pagkakaalam po namin sa Israel po ito, sa affected areas within Israel.
Affected areas.
Opo, opo.
So, hindi po natin alam kung sa Gaza City or affected areas. Hindi sigurado.
Sa Israel po, Sir Congressman,
So,
hindi po sa
affected
Gaza.
areas.
Yes,
So, madali po itong ma-pull out.
yes po.
Katulad po nung nabanggit na my partner, Ambassador, Administrator, Immigration. Yung pong tatlong unaccounted OFWs, are there in Gaza City or in affected areas?
Sa affected areas po sa Israel.
So comparing sa Gaza City situation and affected areas, parang medyo mas madali itong sa tatlong unaccounted. Tama po ba, Mr. Chair?
Well, in the sense po na may katuwang tayong IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, na katuwang natin sa pagsagip at paglocate, ay meron po tayong kumpiyansa sa IDF. So hindi ko naman po masabing mas madali, Mr. Congressman, but mas meron po tayong kumpiyansa na meron tayong katuwang na government partner, which is the Israeli Defense Forces.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, during the briefing of Secretary Kaktak, nabanggit po niya, kung na nagkakamali, na yun daw po ating mga kababayan sa Gaza City, hindi pinapayagan lumabas ng bahay kasi parang gusto po niya sabihin, parang ang situation yung air assaults ng Israeli. Tama po ba? Bombing.
Doon po sa pagka-describe ko, sa Israel pa ho ang tinutukoy ko, Mr. Congressman. Kasi po sa Gaza, ang karamihan ay hindi OFW. So ang dinidescribe ko po kaninang sitwasyon ay sa Israel pa rin ho ito, sa southern affected areas ng Israel. At may operations mong sinasagawa ang Israeli Defense Forces sa ngayon doon. Kung ano po ang kabuuang detalye ng operations, hindi po natin alam ang buong detalye. Basta ang alam natin, nandun po ang IDF ngayon on the ground.
Yes, Mr. Chair, kasi po, ang nakikita ko, sabi nga, yung affected areas, yung sa ang OFWs din is around 1,500. So, it's, ang pagkaintindi ko, yung sa Gaza, yung parang yung focus ng assaults. Tama po ba?
Tama po yun. At least sa pagkakaunawa ko nung pagka-describe din ni Congresswoman Luistro, sa Gaza po yung military operation po ngayon na nakikita natin sa television.
And we have 137 OFWs in Gaza. Tama po.
Hindi po sila OFW sa kabuuan, Mr. Congressman. Kaya po ang tumutugon sa Gaza ay sa the DFA, si Ambassador Fred Santos naman po sa Amman, Jordan, with respect to Gaza po.
So ano po yung nasa Gaza City na Filipinos?
Sa kabuuan po sila ay mga asawa ng Palestino at mga iba pa hong klase ng Pilipino doon na hindi po sila OFWs, Mr. Congressman.
Pero still, Pilipino sila, tama po.
Sa pagkaunawa ko po Pilipino dahil halimbawa po kung kasal sa Palestino, let's say may 3-4 na anak, lahat pong yung mga bata na yon ay kasama na rin, dinatrato na rin bilang Pilipino.
So consent pa rin tayo doon, siyempre ano po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, opo.
Kung hindi po ako nagkakamali, nadinig ko kanina sa ating Honorable Ambassador Santos, sinasabi niya na safe naman yung mga Pilipinos sa Gaza City. Tama po ba yung pagkadinig ko kanina? Mr. Chair?
Yun po, Mr. Congressman, ang sinabi, Pero siyempre, I will also defer with the view of the DFA on this matter, Mr. Chair and Mr. Congressman.
Mr. Chair, nabanggit po ni Ambassador Santos a while ago na safe naman yung mga Pilipino na nasa Gaza City. Ano po, nabanggit niya. Pero, ano ago, may nabasa po ako sa YouTube or Facebook. Ano ago, sinasabi po na Israeli troops prepare for Gaza ground assault. So, kung totoo po ito, natin pwedeng sabing safe yung mga Pilipino doon sa Gaza City. Tama po ba, Mr. Chair?
How about the DFA?
Opo, ang assessment, siguro I will defer to the assessment on the ground with respect to Gaza. Chair.
Sino recognize them to speak? The ambassador in the one in Jordan or in Cairo?
Ambassador Santos is more senior than me. Having been posted, naintindihan ko po na mahalaga yung perspective of our man or woman on the ground. But all our ambassadors are under the supervision of our Undersecretary for Ed Vega ng UNWA. So he's the actual one who makes the decision. But the recommendation is made by our people on the ground. Thank you po.
So, ang concern po natin dito, Mr. Chair, kabalit po kanina na safe yung mga Pilipino na nasa Gaza City. Isang oras pa lamang, may reports na Israeli troops nagpipito for Gaza ground assault. So,
Your Honor, can I speak?
excuse me, Mr. Chair. Please allow me to continue my interpellation.
Please continue, Congressman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, assuming na na ito, nobody could say na if ang mga Pilipino kasi iba yung air assault, iba yung ground assault. My question, Mr. Chair, is updated po ba tayo sa situation sa ground para sabihin natin safe ang mga Pilipino natin doon? Mr. Chair?
Please, who's going to answer? Ambassador Santos. And this is consistent with our question of Congressman Busita dahil tinatanong po natin, sino po yung kanino nanggagaling yung report doon sa ground if we're saying na wala naman po tayong tao doon sa Gaza mismo?
Your Honor, of course, the Filipinos are safe now because I made that statement because so far we have not received any reports of any casualties among our 137 Filipino community members. But of course, being safe doesn't mean that you will not be cautious, you will not be vigilant. We continue to advise them to stay indoors, avoid public places, and continue to monitor the situation. We are in touch with them constantly through our hotline numbers, which are available in Viber and WhatsApp. And thankfully, we have been given assurances that they are not in harm's way. But of course, you really have to take precautions. So we can't really say that they are safe because the situation is very tense and very dangerous also. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Please continue.
So, Mr. Chair, nabanggit po na Honorable Ambassador Santos na yun ay base sa report. So, presently, hindi po natin alam kung in-effect na ng Israelis yung sinasabing ground assault. So, hindi po tayo updated. Kasi, nabanggit ko nga po, iba yung air assault, iba yung ground assault. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Man, that's precisely yung point din po natin. Kasi yung datos na pinanggagalingan nila is point of view ng mga Pilipino dun sa ground. Wala silang punto de vista coming from the military. That's the reason why we also invited the DND here for us to be able to have a deeper appreciation of things. So, sa intelligence community, kasi ang pinanggagalingan po ng datos dun sa mga tao Of course sila, ang pananaw po nila from the ground. Sila po yung nandun, yes. See your
Yes,
to
Mr.
start
Chair.
report period.
If our ambassador in Tel Aviv is online, I believe our embassy in Tel Aviv would be in the best position to assess kung ano yung stance ng IDF forces. And I believe my colleague here is also communicating with them. So I don't know if they're ready to give a presentation on what is the intention of IDF. Thank you po.
Thank you. Congressman Busita, would you want to request an answer from our ambassador in Israel?
Yes, please, Mr. Chair.
Ambassador Ambassador Lailo, you're recognized.
Good afternoon po. I'm Colonel Iwag Manay, the Defense and Armed Forces Attaché of Israel, sir. Sir, with regards to what's happened, the operation in Gaza, based on our briefing from the IDF, they are targeting Hamas infrastructure, but the infrastructure is deliberately embedded within civilian areas and proximities to international assets, and they are using the population as human shields. So it seems na ganun nga po yung napoportray sa international scene, because some of their operational structures are located inside the mosque. Some of them are located in the residential buildings, and some of them even on banks next to a kindergarten school, or some of the rocket launchers are also in residential areas, hospitals, something like that. So ito po namang mga targets nila is based on their intelligence, and we know that Israel has a very one of the most robust intelligence agencies in the world. So this is also all based on their intelligence. So ganun po ang nangyayari po sa ground po. And also some of the targets are being they use precision guided munitions, and then before if they see that their targets is like a civilian structures, they usually call cell phones na nasa ground, or ginagawa nila yung knock on them, or parang they will use something like missile na maliit lamang yung caliber, just to warn them first that they will destroy, they will target that area, and they need to evacuate maybe 5 minutes. Binibigyan nila ng 5 minutes before they can knock down that areas. So that was the base on the briefing of IDF, and also for our communication between the IDF and also the defense attaché association in Israel.
Mr. Chair, gusto ko ba sabihin ni Ambassador na as of now, air assaults pa lang ang ginagawa ng Israeli? Walang ground assault? Ganun po ba?
Colonel, Defense Attaché Colonel Manay. Colonel Manay?
Sir, for now, it's more on airstrikes, and then precision bombing po, and then yung because their walls was breached, so they are parang ina-address po nila yung mga breach muna dun sa mga walls nila kung saan lumusot yung mga Hamas going to Israel territory, and then Prime Minister Netanyahu already there is mga pronouncement na po na it will be from the IDF that saying that this will be a long, they are preparing for a long fight. Yun po ang sinasabi nila. So we don't know, sir. We don't know, sir, if maybe they will we don't know yet if they will go on a ground operation, papasukin yung Gaza. We don't know yet. We don't have that. Wala pa po. Thank you po.
Mr. Chair, kung hindi po natin alam na gagawin ng Israeli yung ground assault, ang gagawin nila yun, ano po ang preparation natin para ma-pull out natin yung kababayan nating Pilipino. Karoon ng ground assault, Israeli, ano po yan? Ano po ang plano natin?
Once again, we will request the DFA for a response.
Mahalaga sir yung country team approach, meaning the head of post, the ambassador has to consult all the agencies involved in the bilateral relations of our embassies with their host governments. So para complete po yung picture, halimbawa nagsalita po yung DAFA ng ating embassy in Tel Aviv. So if we get the regular accurate briefings from the IDF, then sila po din sir makakadetermine talaga kung ano yung mangyayari. I go back to my experience in Moscow. So we were always getting information kung kailan yung invasion. So because of the country team approach, we were able to predict the invasion within a 48-hour period. So example lang po yun. So maganda talaga to consult everyone, all the stakeholders, including the Philcoms po. And the Philcoms should be also organized into councils para madali po silang matap pag may emergencies. Yun lang naman po sa your humble representation.
Mr. Chair, gusto lang po natin na malaman ano yung preparation natin? Kasi kung hintay natin yung ground assault, of course, mahirap na yun. Mr. Chair. So, may report eh. So, hintay na natin na magkaroon ng ground assault yung Israeli sa Gaza City. Or, importante ito, Mr. Chair, na siyempre, as much as possible, kung may opportunity na may-pull out yung mga Pilipino doon, mas maganda. Huwag po natin hintayin na ma-effect yung ano nila, yung ground assault. Siyempre, pagka ground assault, ang usapan yan, Mr. Chair, hindi natin pipiliin kung baga, kung ikaw ay assault members or post, wala naman pilihan eh. So, yan, Mr. Chair, ang dapat, gusto nating malaman na ma-address ng concerned agencies. Huwag natin hintayin magkaroon ng ground assault bago tayo kikilos. Kasi I think helpless na tayo doon. Instead na ma-save natin yung mga kababayan nating Pilipino, madadagdagan pa yung casualties, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Congressman Busita. But as mentioned a while ago by Congresswoman Jebel Luistro, would differ with the decision of the DFA, particularly those on the ground, because they are the ones who have the requisite data, information, and intelligence, quote unquote, in making an intelligent decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, yun po bang nadinig ko kanina sa report ni Secretary Hans, 23 Repatriation. Ito po bang ito ay nasa Gaza City o affected areas?
Mula po sila sa affected areas, Israel po, Israel based sila. So pwede na nga po natin aksyonan subject to the limitations that I mentioned, yung proper clearance with Israeli authorities, and depende sa location nila, Mr. Chair, kasi baka nasa bomb shelter sila ngayon. So in which case, hintayin pa natin ng konti na humupa ang sitwasyon.
So, are you saying na hindi mabigat yung problema para ma-repatriate ito, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, yung pong 1,000
More or less 1,500 Filipinos na nandun sa affected areas. Wala pa po tayong idea, Mr. Chair, kung ilan yung gusto nilang bumalik sa Pilipinas.
Yun po yung binanggit po kanina, Congressman, that's 23.
23 po so
23
parang nakalap natin.
22 lang.
Opo. Karamihan po talaga parang hindi talaga pa gusto umuwi.
So, kung na nagkakamali, nabanggit niya Administrator Ignacio, majority talaga, parang ang assessment nila, personal assessment, parang okay lang, parang normal. Ano po ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Kasi po ito naman about the high trust sa government ng Israel. Like we're emphasizing that it's not only the Philippine government side who's addressing the needs of our OFWs. Katunayan po, Your Honor, yung mismong IDF, yung Israeli Defense Forces, ang siyang kumuha ng mga Pilipino at naghatid dun sa ating mga ospital, hotels, sila po yun. At yung binabanggit na information na signal ni yung Colonel kanina, ito po na ikikwento sa amin. Merong siren or may call for them to be signaled to go down to their shelter bunkers. So nabibigyan po sila ng advance information. So siguro kaya po naman nagkakaganon yung kanilang pananaw kung meron kaming invitation to have them repatriated. But the repatriation in these affected areas, especially in the area of Tel Aviv, dito sa Central and the North, hindi din yan magiging malaking problema. Already there's a clearance from the Israeli government and we can readily take them home. And as we speak, binigyan na po namin ng order ang ating welfare officers at yung ating mga taga-OWA na magsimula na to prepare in case the order will be given.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Administrator Ignacio, hindi napakabigat ng sitwasyon ng mga Pilipino na nasa Israel.
I wouldn't want to categorize it na hindi po nabigat. But what we can speak in describing the situation is that the concentration of the conflict is in the Gaza area. Ito pong Gaza kasi ngayon ay may napakataas na bakod. Talagang mataas yung bakod na yan. At ang problema natin ay sinarap natin ng Israel. So, kahit ano pong papasok at palabas ay hindi nangyayari. But with regards to the other areas, ito sa South area, ito po na yung malapit na napapituman. Pero sa Central and North and sa West, medyo makakaya pa po natin yan. Makakaya pa po natin. But we are preparing for an eventuality.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kaya ko pa ito na itatanong, siyempre, yung mga relatives ng mga kababayan natin, kailangan malaman nila yung situation. Kaya nakakatuwa po na yes, may mga kababayan tayong Pilipino sa Gaza City, but based on the reports of the concerned agencies, parang talagang ang malaking issue dito yon sa Gaza City. Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Yung Gaza City.
Secondly, Mr. Chair, currently, yung mga nandun sa Gaza City, parang yung pamilya nila nandun na rin, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tama po ba, Mr. Chair? So, Mr. Chair, meron po tayong mga gustong itanong sa DFA and OWA. Siguro, if I may request, Mr. Chair, makapwedeng sa executive session.
So Congressman Busites requesting for executive session. I suppose, is there any objection? Of course, nobody's going to object. So we will request for an executive session, please. So we will request all the the hearing is hereby suspended. So yes, ang maiwan lang po yung BMW, DFA, OWA, and DND. And thank you very much, Mr. Stan Burnett, the Chief of Mission. Thank you very much for joining us and for your support to our Filipino migrant workers.
Personally, dito recorded pati mga stenographers.
Yes.